This whole show is about what happens when you're driving down the interstate and you look way off to your left and you see that tiny little dusty community.
Picture Luke Skywalker and Han Solo in a 70s muscle car with chainsaws in the trunk, cruising across this American landscape.
And our show turns left and drives out there, kicks up the dust, and explores it.
We show you the demons, we show you the spirits, the ghosts, the, whatever it may be, and we attack them head on.
These are just two American guys that are running around trying to, help out their fellow countrymen and, do whatever they can do.
I've always been obsessed with urban legend and American folklore ever since I was a kid. There was a book, I think I even remember reading in 4th grade, which was just urban legends for kids, just these gross little stories. And I mean, I can trace it back from that time on. Horror movies I've just always been into. And I've just always sort of loved the genre. It's fun and it's scary and it's getting a visceral reaction out of people is, really enjoyable. And it's just something I've always gravitated towards. When it came time for that development season, and I sat down with the executives at Warner Brothers, and they said, what's the show that you've always wanted to do? And I said, I have this great idea. I said, I have it all worked out. It's a show about a reporter, and he travels from town to town, and he investigates the supernatural, and he writes them in these columns, and nobody believes him. Like, that's what I want to do. And they looked at me, and they kind of paused, and they said, yeah, no, nah. Like, we really like the idea of doing urban legends and American folklore, but nah, not into the reporter. What else you got? So I said, well, I did think that, one way to do this show would be to do it as Route 66 and put two guys in a classic car and cruise them from town to town, and just they get involved in these supernatural mysteries, and then they basically just drive in and out of a different horror movie every week. And the studio said, we love that, do that.
We seemed to hit it off on the core idea of doing something supernatural that echoed the true scariness of the X-Files back in its day, and then got working on the idea itself, which really morphed from this kind of investigative reporter, and it became about two boys on the road and reconnecting their family together, and the kind of quintessential tour of faded Americana.
I wanted McGee and Peter Johnson involved from the beginning because I wanted people that I could bounce ideas off of, people with great instincts, and McGee with just his attitude of making sure that it's fun and making sure like we're really hitting the emotional beats of that hero's journey.
I was originally attracted to the project for two reasons. One, we'd been chasing around Eric Kripke for a long time, and I really responded to his voice. Two, I'm very inspired by what's happening at the movie theaters week in, week out, with scary films really having a lot of resonance with today's audiences. So we started talking about a few ideas, and Eric became very passionate about supernatural, and just the notion of everything he'd done in his career was leading him to this very point, to tell these stories, these American road stories, this Star Wars and Truck Stop America, he likes to say. I'm a fan of this genre because I'm the guy at the movie theater every week, and Eric really understands the genre. He intimately understands what scary is and what compelling storytelling is, and he also understands character. So that, with his passion for the project, just got me excited.
One thing I learned from Dad, so no matter what kind of shapeshifter it is, there's one sure way to kill it. Silver bullet to the heart.
I think our biggest challenge is to make these stories relatable to the people, that the characters are grounded in a reality, that you believe as an audience what you're seeing, that this could happen. So we kind of try to subtly create an atmosphere that we don't think you've seen on television before.
What Eric had in the core idea that was really truly special and different, a couple things. One, he has this fascination with the real-life American folklore and mythology that's specific to, to this country, and that isn't into the kind of science fiction zone of, aliens, and that's very like real and grounded and based on, urban legends and myths and ghost stories that are passed around campfires. The second thing was telling these kinds of stories through the lens of two brothers on the road taking the quintessential American road trip, trying to reconnect and put their family back together.
The first thing we set out to really make this feel like a horror movie. People ask me all the time, well, were you inspired by X-Files, or were you inspired by Buffy, or what TV show, inspired you? And I said, I got to tell you, we were inspired by features. We weren't inspired by other television shows. Movies like Poltergeist and American Werewolf in London and Evil Dead, those were the kind of movies that I really gravitated towards. And those are movies that are scary as hell, but they're funny too, and they have sort of like a sense of playfulness to them. And that's what always sort of attracted me, and that's what we strove hard to bring to the series of Supernatural.
You didn't.
Oh, I did.
We took our scares seriously, but we didn't take ourselves seriously.
So, fake U.S. Marshal, fake credit cards. You got anything that's real?
My boobs.
Creating Supernatural, the pilot, was a very difficult birthing process. There was a whole other version of the Supernatural script. The woman in white was not in it. Dad died in the teaser. I mean, I worked so hard on that script, and it was just a mess. And so it didn't work. And once you sort of said, well, actually, what if Dad's still alive? And what if the boys grew up with Dad as demon hunters? What if they grew up in this sort of fractured family? And to me, that's what made the show work. And it made it sort of, it gave me the ability to have fun with it and have funny lines and have kind of a breezier tone. And so no, that first script was useless. And the thing that really pushed us over the top was when David Nutter read it and said, I liked it.
It was a breakfast that Eric and I had with David Nutter, and there was this moment where he kind of winked at us and said, I'm in, let's do this.
And that was 11 a.m., and we were greenlit to pilot by, I think, 3 p.m. that day. So I'd like to take credit, but let's be real. It was David Nutter saying, I'm going to direct this pilot, the winningest pilot director in television history, that pushed us over the top.
Oh, easy, Tiger.
Dean?
Well, the idea is to make the show feel like a movie every single week. And we wanted to put that in motion immediately with David Nutter doing the pilot, because he makes movies. I don't care if it's ultimately being seen on a television screen. You're watching a fundamentally cinematic experience, a fundamentally filmic experience. And Nutter established that tone right out of the gate, and we do everything we can to get that done on a week-in, week-out basis.
Well, I think the heightened drama between the characters, as well as the accentuated atmospheres that we are able to create, and the moods and tones we're able to kind of create in a show like this, and I think they can really provide wonderful scares as well as attitudes and tones that I think can be very exciting.
Once David came on, he approached it and really wanted to do this project because it was grounded in the relationship between the brothers.
To me, the core of the show has always been family. And when you ground it and you believe it as those two guys, that's what makes everything work. And their chemistry is the reason we're on the air.
And action!
Easy, Tiger.
Dean? You scared the crap out of me.
It's because you're out of practice.
When there's only two leads in the show, both of those guys have to be home runs or else you're dead. So the pressure was really on to cast those two guys. And we saw everybody, and we had weeks and weeks of casting, and we weren't, finding who we were looking for.
I remember when I first read the project and got involved in it, I was actually going to go out for Sam, the younger brother, not knowing it. I don't think they had the older brother and anybody in mind for that. I know that they were thinking about Jared, and they wanted to bring me in and read kind of against Jared as opposed to with Jared.
But Jared came in, and he was just so likable and soulful, and immediately you just saw things from his eyes and his point of view.
When I read the script, I was really into the mythology of it, and I was really into the two characters, Sam especially, and I basically said, I'd love to be a part of this. If y'all will have me, I'd love to work my butt off for y'all guys and help tell the story of this character.
After Jared walked out of the room, we talked about it, and we said, geez, it's like Jared, if Jared was Sam, who, and Sam is supposed to be Luke Skywalker, so you sort of need an innocence, we're going to tap all of Jensen's charisma and put it into Dean. And we called Jensen and his representatives, and we said, there's Luke Skywalker, but you could also be Han Solo. And who as a kid, didn't want to be Han Solo. And he was cool and immediately saw the opportunity there. And so then we sort of lucked into having the both of them. And David, I remember I was with David Nutter, Peter Johnson, and we all turned to each other and we said, we have a series. We're going to get picked up.
People either have chemistry together or they don't. You can't fabricate it. You can't cheat that. And, you know, these two guys together just have it. And it's a delight when you see it sort of explode in front of you, and you'd be a fool not to take advantage of that.
What were you thinking, shooting Casper in the face, you freak? Hey, saved your ass.
To me, I learned very quickly that Jensen and Jared, first of all, they're very good friends. And that's where the chemistry comes from. But they're also kind of unique. If they were dogs, Jensen would be Rin Tin Tin, and Jared would be Pluto. And they just genuinely like each other. Well, that comes off on the screen.
Oh, I take everything back I said. I'm so happy to see you.
I love the emotional drama between these brothers. That's what I find interesting. It's not the fact that they're hunting down demons. I mean, that's fun.
Even if we do find the thing that killed her, Mom's gone, and she isn't coming back.
Don't talk about her like that.
I think the show is going into a very real emotional world where we're really getting to see the dynamics of two brothers.